still can't believe you pulled a gun on Frank. That was epic.
It felt awful. I'm glad there was no bullets in there.
You can just rewind time in your hand and stick that barrel right up Frank's ass. You have the power!
You're gross. Don't fall.
I'm just glad you were here.
Me too, I think. Chloe, why the hell are you hanging around scary losers like Frank? It's weird.
Let's take a break and I'll talk. Feels like a different world, huh? I wish we could stay forever.
Can we build another pirate fort and keep the world out?
We need a new secret hangout. At least Frank wouldn't find us. Are you okay, Max?
I'm still freaked out about what happened. That was awful, Chloe.
I'm sorry. But Frank isn't as hardcore as he fronts. All he cares about is his cash, stash, and mangy dog.
Chloe, did you see what just happened? I almost shot him. I know I could rewind, but Chloe, this is not playtime. No more guns.
Max, I know. Crazy shit is the new normal for me. That's why I plan to leave Arcadia Bay without paying Frank off.
Now, tell me exactly what's going on between you and Frank. Does he have a last name?
Frank Bowers, he's just a dealer, where I get my weed. The one in your joint, remember? Anyway, Frank and I kind of hung out.
So I see some of the things you guys are saying in chat, and while I definitely don't agree with the mindset that it seems all of you have, I will say this to your defense. I grew up and have lived my entire life, aside from very small vacations, and very few vacations, inside of Canada. And in Canada, we have strict gun laws. You can own private guns, private property guns. You have to get a license, right? And it's hard to get a license, and it's only getting harder as time goes on. I believe Justin Trudeau, our Prime Minister, has recently passed in even harder laws for getting guns. So Moochie, for instance, has confused my country for America before, and I don't blame them because they're in Spain, right? And they're still getting to know me. But Canada, while related and similar to America, is definitely not America. Yeah, like even just getting a hunting rifle, a single shot hunting rifle. It sounds like we're about to be attacked by a bear. What the fuck? You guys hear that? Shit. They don't seem too concerned though, so I guess I won't be. But yeah, I've never owned a gun. I don't have any close contacts in my life who own a gun. None of my family members have ever owned... Well, okay, that's not true. I think my aunt does, but she literally lives on a farm. Maybe my grandmother too. But anyways, like, nobody in my immediate family does. Nobody in my immediate family wants to. I don't want to. I'll say this. Guns are badass. Guns are cool. But they're also horrible. They're also terrible, terrible things. Yeah. If I was presented the option to press a button to eliminate all lethal firearms from our existence, I'd do it. Seriously. Seriously, I would. And maybe that would mean an alien race comes down and enslaves our entire, all of humanity one day. Maybe it would. Yeah, I'm just not a fan. I'm just not a fan. As cool as they are, as cool as I can admit they are. And do I still watch shows and consume video games with guns in them? Yeah. And can I think that those are great? Yeah. Yeah, just, from a serious point of view, I don't fuck with that. And that's partially because it's my Canadian mindset. Not to say that all Canadians have that same mindset. I definitely do not want to speak on that front. But yeah, part of the reason that I've turned out this way is because I'm Canadian, right? So what I want to say to your guys' defense, to your guys' credit, is I recognize that you guys are not Canadian, that you guys have grown up in more dangerous environments where guns are more normal, they're more common, and maybe you yourselves or people you know well do own them. And maybe people talk about them like they're something that's okay. And that's subjective, right? My take on it is that they're not. I think they're a detriment to society, to humanity, to just do-gooding in general. That said, I will make one final point and then I'll read your guys' comments and maybe we can talk about this a little bit more. But I also recognize that a gun itself, the actual tool, the metal, the gunpowder, the wood, the everything that goes into it is not evil. I understand that the materials and it just being put together in that shape is not evil. It's just like a sword. You know, you can have a sword hanging on a wall, you know, it's on a plaque or whatever, or it's like affixed to the wall somehow. And if all of it's there for is a decoration, is it evil? Is a kitchen knife evil? No. Chefs use kitchen knives all the time just to prepare food, right? But if you use a kitchen knife and you stab another living being with the intention to murder them, right? That's when it gets tricky. And the same logic can be applied to guns. I do recognize that. The thing is, guns are way too easy to use for those kinds of means. So and I don't think humanity has the responsibility, has the restraint, and quite frankly is intelligent enough to wield that kind of power. I don't think we are a good enough creature to have that kind of power. We're not benevolent enough. We're not altruistic enough. So I don't think we deserve to be able to do that. That's why I would do it, because it does come down to us. But I do recognize that the materials themselves are not necessarily to blame. Okay, now I'll scroll up chat, I'll see what you guys are saying, and then we'll hopefully continue soon. Okay, let's see here. Chris mentions that defense of others is justifiable means in the US. And yeah, that's the tricky situation, right? I don't think Frank was going to stab Chloe either way. But was he threatening her? And was he doing so with a weapon? Abso-fucking-lutely. And did Max Caulfield know that Frank Bowers was not gonna go that far? No, because she hasn't been in Seattle for basically the last 5 years. So this whole relationship that Chloe has made with Frank has been outside of her experience. So from Max's point of view, I can understand. Oh my God, you hear some of these? I'm like, what the fuck? You know, it's like tigers and shit around us. What the fuck? Anyways, yeah, I get that too, but, and this is where my philosophy comes in play, right? I view myself, or at least I'm trying to be, I've spoken about this a little bit before in the past too. Lanz, the pacifist, keyword the, isn't really accurate as to what I am. I talked about this a little bit when I played with AFOX doing The Floor is Still Really Cheap Lava. I think a more accurate title for me would be Lanz Aspiring Pacifist, because one, I don't know if true pacifism even exists. It might be a made-up concept that is impossible, at least for humans. But also, I don't know if I personally am there. It's a really slippery slope, and I don't want to take up too much of your guys' time because I'm sure you guys are excited for the story, but I think aspiring pacifist matches what I am better. And sticky situations like self-defense is part of the reason there. Moochie says, perks of living in a country of lots of criminality. Exactly. Moochie has probably faced a lot more violence in their day-to-day than even Americans like Chris have. Definitely more than I have as a Canadian. So I can also understand why the customs in Moochie's life, the typical happenings, right, that would maybe be more gun violence minded, or even just violent minded in general, because they've had to face those situations more. It's more normalized in their life. Paven says, I was about to say to shoot him, but my internet was full bars prevented me from saying it. Okay. Chris says, I don't take violence lightly, but I am a firm believer in self-defense. Losing your life through inaction or indecision isn't something I could let happen. Yeah, sorry. I got even a little sidetracked about my own thinking. That's actually something I was going to comment on before. And I think I just, I rambled into a whole other thing that wasn't even the point I was leading up to. Yes, because I started talking about myself as aspiring pacifist. And one of the things is, one of the reasons I believe in at least the theory of pacifism is it's like a domino effect. It's a chain reaction. Because do I expect that if I walk into Afghanistan, let's say, with the ongoing war that's happening over there, and I hold up, messages of peace and I wave a white surrender flag, that things are going to go well for me? Probably not, right? Probably not. Do I think that's going to leave a heavy impact on their country or the worldly relations with them? Probably not. But that's the thing. I'm one person in billions of people. And my hope is that through the domino effect, even if just slightly, if I could get more people to think like this, well, maybe 1 becomes 5, and maybe 5 becomes 10, and so on and so forth. And with enough people, maybe then there would be no need for self-defense, because everybody is coming from the same point of view as everybody else. That just violence to begin with isn't the answer. So that's kind of where I stand on self-defense. I understand that can mean heavy losses for both myself and the people who are close to me. But I personally think it's worth it for the greater good. Yeah. Alien race, you mean the British? Jesus Christ, man, says Chris. I have exactly 0 friends that take gun safety lightly. I may joke, but I'm not a violent person. Glad to hear that. Moochie says, well, in Venezuela, more than guns being normalized, I meant that in the context of self-defense, there you're to be ready for anything or you'll get, and then they put in squared brackets, insert the worst stuff that might happen to you when getting thread in the streets. I'm guessing they meant threatened in the streets with a weapon. Yeah. And that's where some of my privilege comes from. I totally acknowledge that as a Caucasian male in a first world country, a safe first world country where we have strict gun violence, I have major privilege, right? It's not fair. I wish you guys had just as much of that same privilege to be able to feel as safe and maybe feel similarly to me. So yeah, I know, Moochie. Well, I know, but I also don't know, right? But that's an extremely good point. Maybe I would sing a different tune if I'd been through some of the things that you and some of the other people you know have experienced or maybe even gone through personally. But I haven't, and I still do believe what I'm saying. I still do. Because I'm hoping that if more people were to see things my way, then things like the stuff you had to experience in Venezuela wouldn't be a thing. Right? And it's probably something that would have to carry on outside of my lifetime. Do I realistically think that saying these words now is even going to change anything in my life? Not necessarily. This is something that if it were to happen would probably take generations, right? But it's got to start somewhere. Not to say that I'm also, this is not a new concept either. We've got Gandhi, we've got lots of other peace speakers, we've got hippies throughout the times, peace, not love, that's where the peace symbol comes from. I'm not trying to say I'm taking credit for the concept of peace either. Please don't skew my words in that sense. But I'm just contributing is all. Paven says they don't speak politics. Sorry, then to make it so much about politics, Paven. Just know that this video game is highly political. I've said that pretty much every episode so far. So yeah, if you choose to continue with this, there will be a lot of political topics to be discussed. So that's kind of what you're signing up for when you watch me play Life is Strange. Or honestly, even follow my channel in general, since my name is Lanz the Pacifist. I don't think he, in brackets Frank, was prepared for the full ramifications of his actions. Yeah, possibly. I've had to defend myself, says Chris, in brackets, with a weapon. To eat before pacifism makes my heart warm, but starving does not do that. Yeah, no, I get it. I get it, man. I can't hate you for seeing it that way. I can't. Because I understand. I do understand where you're coming from. I just hope you can also understand where I'm coming from. Okay, we got 5 viewers, so that's really sick that somebody would drop in during my conversation. We do plan to play this game, viewer. I just got into a big spiel because we just had an encounter with Frank Bowers, where my chat had the opportunity to pull the trigger on a revolver or not. I won't say what happened. You could go back on the VOD later if you're new. But, yeah, some spicy stuff went down and it led to a big conversation with me in chat. But we are going to continue now. So, right now, I'm going to click this.